Girls Club did for me when I was a kid. There was a guy named Sam Williams that used to be a Milwaukee Bucks basketball player that was the head of Levonway Boys and Girls Club. Every day, I'd get off of school, I'd come into the club, I'd walk past the office, he'd say, "Ken, come in here. You do your homework? What you up to? Staying out of trouble? Good. We going to a Bucks game, 8 o'clock, we'll pick you up." So instead of me being on the streets, Sam Williams at the Boys and Girls Club pulled me and showed me some constructive things.
Well, the Boys and Girls Club has a mission, which is to inspire and enable all youth, especially those who need us most, to realize their full potential as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. One of the things that we really focus on as well is what we call our purpose, and our purpose really is to make sure that the Fox Valley remains a great place for all kids to grow.
I think it has some wonderful aspirations, and I think it provides really great service, particularly for those kids who need us most.
As an organization, I think its mission is to reach youth within an urban setting, especially within the city limits. It's a place for kids to come and feel welcomed and accepted, and just to keep them off the streets, which is our main goal, is because, I mean, the activity where most kids in high school and elementary school get in trouble is when they're right out of school and have nothing to do. So this is that place to connect and have almost that third place to call almost a home. So
I think our goals are very achievable. I think what we're trying to do is encourage young kids to achieve academically. We're trying to teach some leadership and some character, and we're also trying to instill and motivate kids to think outside of the box, long-term goals instead of short-term goals.
Let me start with the national organization. The national organization, I think, is interesting because it can trace its roots all the way back to the Civil War. During the time of the Civil War, there was a huge problem with orphans, especially in some of our major urban centers. In this particular case in Boston, there were a lot of young boys who were orphaned, and they didn't have a place to live. They were on the streets. They were street kids, really. Fathers had been killed in the war, and potentially also, I suppose, their mothers. There were two women, actually, that began to hold teas in the afternoon to bring those boys in off the streets, give them something to eat, and help guide them towards making some positive decisions in their lives. Now, locally, we got our start and we opened our doors, I should say, in 1998. But we were established based upon an event that had happened back in May of 1995. It was a gang-related incident where we ended up with 4 kids who were dead. One kid who had been murdered, and another 3 who, in a suicide pact, took their own lives in Plowman Park, north of town. But a lot of people came together following that tragedy and said, we have to do something. We have to figure out a way to make sure that these kinds of things don't happen again. That incident was gang-related. So it took a while, but by 1998, one of the things that we decided to do was establish a place for kids, and by 1998, we opened up the Boys and Girls Club.
More importantly, I think we established some good relationships with kids, so our roles change into more like mentors for kids. You know, we're that positive adult role model that a lot of kids need. I think the number one thing for me is that somebody did it for me when I was a young kid. You know, I had adult role models around me. I come from a broken home, in essence. You know, mom raised me. There was one guy in particular that I remember just taking a liking to me, and he helped me. He got me involved in the community centers, and that kind of inspired me to say, hey, I want to work with kids. I want to be the adult role model that a lot of kids need. I'm a big kid myself, so it just kind of made it easy for me.
I think it's just the excitement of seeing how kids develop and change within the system of this organization. The opportunities they have to grow alongside staff. I mean, it's been a huge growing year. Just to come alongside the youth and watch them excel in the programs that we've established.
I actually began working with kids shortly after I got out of high school myself. I was involved in church youth ministry at the time, and then That is something that I continued while I was in college. After I went through college, I came back to do some more youth ministry work and ended up working for a small little nonprofit called Youth Services of the Fox Valley region. And what I was doing there was primarily developing a helpline where teens, I was working with teens, and we had this helpline and other teens could call and talk to teens about their problems, issues, or concerns. It was kind of like a peer helpers sort of program.
And I'm telling you, two of my closest friends when I was your age are dead. I lived in a rough environment, and the Boys and Girls Club helped give me a place that showed me some structure. They made me hope and dream for something. And I'm telling you, every goal that I wrote down on paper, I either did it or I'm doing it.
And these things change over time, but one of the things I do know is that the juvenile crime rate before there was a Boys and Girls Club was a lot higher than it is now. And I know that when we keep kids engaged in positive youth development activities during the hours when they're not in school, first of all, they're having fun, there's some productive, good things going on, but second of all, they're not getting the opportunity to get involved with the kinds of delinquent acts that we all get concerned about. So I know we're having an effect. All of our membership, all of our monitoring and measurement data tells us that we are. And some of the other folks in the community, including law enforcement and others, have told us, since there was a Boys and Girls Club, a lot of these problems have gotten a lot easier to deal with.
In a variety of different ways, like for instance, a one-on-one basis where you can work one-on-one with these kids and they can communicate with needs and wants that they have and come to you specifically, or even in a group setting to excel and just have the opportunity to be able to mix it up and communicate with small groups.
And I think like growth as in like leadership wise to know how to direct their lives, in that sense where they have a sense of direction, and where they're going, how they're going to get there.
So if you want to do something in life, be bold enough to write it down. And then come here. Talk to your counselors and the people that work here. They'll help you. They'll guide you. I promise you, when they go to college, all those years, they can work anywhere. They choose to work here. So I appreciate the Boys and Girls Club, and that's my endorsement. That's what's up. Shout out to McGruff in the background. What up, McGruff? I see you over there. What up, McGruff?
Well, I think one of the things that's important to understand is the Boys and Girls Club is an independent organization, but it survives and thrives on the good graces of this community. This is not just an organization that lives on an island unto itself. There are so many people in this community that make this organization possible, from donors who write checks, that would include individuals, families, foundations, corporations, to the leadership in this community, whether that be folks in the school system or in the police department or in other companies in the community who come together to help make this all possible. It's important to understand that the Boys and Girls Club really is a community organization and has lots of facets, lots of other people, organizations, and institutions involved in helping it grow and helping it stay successful.
I think that all kids, man, need to have relationships with people from all different backgrounds, man. The world is changing, and I think working with kids is probably the best career field I could have ever chosen.